Hey, Rowena.
Hello. Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
That's good. Looks like you're in my hometown. You're up in Vancouver still.
I am.
Ah,
Oh, geez. Can you put something underneath there? I am in Vancouver now,
well, yeah,
just
I,
for Christmas.
I got to come and visit. That's all there is to it. Hey, everybody. I'm in Seattle. This is Rowena Gates, but I'm from Vancouver originally, so I love to any excuse to go up there. Gary's a very good excuse, of course.
So, Rowena, sorry. How did you? What was the inspiration to come up with this medical device?
This medical device is actually copying something the body does naturally. And it was known in biology and cell science that the way the proteins fold and the proteins are doing all the work to repair things, it was understood that they relied on the water and able to do their jobs, and they're all embedded in water throughout the body, as you pointed out. It's water's everywhere in there. And so that there was a certain amount that was already known, which was there was a reactive oxygen species that emitted a specific wavelength that changed the nature of that water to the easy water that you mentioned, more gel-like on the surfaces inside the cell. And so our invention, all of that was known in cell biology, that proteins rely on that for folding and they have to fold in order to work and so on. All of that's known in cell biology, but our innovation was to do it artificially outside of the body and then deliver it across the humidity that you're breathing. I should be breathing mine too. That would be nice. But you're breathing a humid airflow when you use the device, and the water droplets that you inhale are adjusted with that very same wavelength and some other wavelengths that are more powerful. So basically, it copied the body and then amped it up with additional wavelengths. And so that's what you're breathing. The water droplets are modified. And when that touches your mucous membrane, it connects to the water in your system.
So, so that what is a protein folding issue, and why is that important?
Oh, well, proteins, it's interesting because we always think of the protein that we eat, but proteins do everything. They're the workhorse of the cell. They do almost everything in your
How many
body.
proteins do we have in our body?
I'd have to do the math. There's probably 6, 8, 10,000 in each cell, and there's 75 trillion cells in your body.
Yes.
There's a lot
And we've identified how many of those proteins.
of the different types of proteins. They assume there's about 900,000 different types, and we are somewhere around 50,000, or
So basically, what we're saying is we don't know crap about the human body.
right, it's super dynamic, and so proteins are formed and then they go away and something else happens. And so there's so many different types of proteins, and then they act in ways that we don't understand. The interaction is the really complicated part. And the reason we know that is we see drug interactions. Almost about 80% of drugs are tweaking a protein. They're turning on a receptor, adding something, they're doing something with proteins. And we have so many of these medications that have side effects. And it's because people don't know all the thing that particular proteins are doing, all the things it's doing. And so they tweak it for one thing, but then something else happens completely, so it's a surprise. And that's because of the interactions. We don't understand them. And so that's where you get those side effects of drugs. And they're all over the map.
So how is it that simply water can have one of the most profound effects on the human body?
We are like 99% of the molecules in the body are water. Now, water, it's a very small molecule, but it's so ubiquitous. And you mentioned hydrating the fascia, all of that, it's everywhere throughout the whole system, just like the fascia is. And so it's really profound because it's everywhere, and the body relies on that for any of its activities. Like you would know from, building muscle or something, how important the hydration is. What we do is not hydration per se. We don't add the water to make you more hydrated, but by the nature of that water, it will have an impact throughout everything. It touches everything. It's the basis, of every cell and what's between the cells as well.
So what kind of conditions would I like predominantly use this for? I'm not saying that it cures anything. I'm just saying, what are some of the conditions that I would use this as part of my treatment?
So first of all, it's an underlying assistance. So it almost doesn't matter what the condition is. If you give your body a little extra help, your body knows what to do and it addresses issues. So all of the chronic illnesses are ones that people use
Okay.
it for because they need a lot of help, and very specifically, they need free oxidative stress damage and free radical damage to be addressed. It's always, all the chronic diseases are related to having too much damage and not enough repair. And so this boosts the repair side. There's no repair done in the body that's not done by proteins.
And so, like we have people that use this for Parkinson's, for MS. We have people that use this for competitive sports to recover faster. We have people that use this post surgery, and these are all people that I know personally that are using the device and what they're using it for.
Yeah,
We have people that are using this for heart disease, tachycardia, autoimmune conditions, and stuff like that. And around here, we have a lot of people coming through with autoimmune conditions. We have brain fog. We have skin irritations, rash. We've got anxiety, depression. And I noticed that when you're on the device, and it's just water, if somebody has anxiety, skin rash, brain fog is gone like in 20 or 30 minutes, usually from using the device and what I've observed.
yeah, yeah. So I want to go back to the very first thing you said, because we could talk for a week probably. But the very first thing you mentioned was Parkinson's. And early in the conversation, you talk about protein folding and why is it important. And I just want to mention here that the proteins have to fold into a complex 3D shape. But when they misfold, they can stick together. And that's an issue in neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, any of the neurodegenerative aspects of things. The proteins are not only not working correctly, they're causing damage because they form plaques or tangles. And so keeping things working smoothly is especially important for the brain. And you certainly don't have to have, something that's already gone wrong for that to be a factor.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I'm not in any of those conditions that haven't been, but what I found initially is that my fascia gets very, very liquid. So if I'm going to do fascial maneuvers, I can move and move past the normal range of motion, and then when I breathe, that's bringing oxygen and hydration to that tissue that normally isn't getting it. And
right,
I've used this with professional athletes for injury cycles. And for myself, my own practice, I use it every day. I do it. I do it at like 5:30 in the morning every single day. I sit on here and I do my messages. It's the easiest way for me to give my body a boost and a hand without giving it a medication. It's not taking over any of my functions. It's just letting me do what I do easier.
right. And the body's amazing. I mean, it knows what to do and it can do it. Giving a little boost is great. And you mentioned professional athletes, and then everything else you talked about earlier really falls under the category of, healthy aging. And so I want to just tell you about some testing that's been recently done that relates to both of those two, and it's with VO2 max and other metabolic tests. And what was amazing with NanoVi was they showed an improvement in VO2 max in one session, in
Wow.
minutes. And so just so everybody understands what that means to an athlete is huge. It's performance, is how much how much oxygen you can use to perform. But the interesting thing is that VO2 max is also used as the measure of biological age, because it's the single best measure of all cause mortality, which is all those heart respiratory, all those different illnesses that you talked about that people die from. And so the people with higher VO2 max are less likely to die. And so they use it to measure biological age. And so we basically could say, well, in 20 minutes, you could get biologically younger.
It's amazing. So I've been practicing fashion maneuvers for a long time. My health has continuously gotten better. I've looked and felt younger. I've added this to my routine since a little less than a year ago on a daily basis. Now, I've known about this from the clinical side back in 2018, but on a daily use side, added this to this. And I've had this rapid acceleration since I started using this on a daily basis. What I noticed is here's one of the factors that I can pinpoint is that I would breathe on an average resting breath rate around 7 to 8 breaths per minute. But since I've started using this, if I'm sitting here, my breath per minute is between 2.5 and 3.
That's really low.
That is, and I measured it over and over and over again to see that means that I'm processing and absorbing oxygen into my fascial tissue, my tissue, and I believe because when I worked with you when you came down to Mexico last year, you had the most hydrated and loose fascia of anybody that I've worked with that wasn't being worked on by us.
Yeah.
And that meant, and this is something that you do every day. So I can take, my working with you and then my own personal experience and say that the hydration of this in the fascia allows more oxygen to be dominant and increasing my Bohr effect or my ability to maintain oxygen in the tissue itself so that I have more use of it. And things like breath holds are longer, like 2 or 3 minutes in a breath hold without even having an issue.
Oh, that's way more than me.
Well, it's the fascia, it's the type of fascial maneuvers, but this is what it's done for me. And I've watched now a couple people that have purchased these devices, and on Parkinson's, one in Parkinson's that I've been working with and watching, and out of Minnesota. And what's interesting is that I can see a completely steady increase in cognitive abilities and functional abilities, even with the reduction of tremors. Because you can watch a baseline of somebody and then you add something new into the regime and you can see the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that VO2 max measure, it is also VO2 max is important for neurogenesis and all aspects of brain health. But I can see where the fascial maneuvers for Parkinson's in particular would just be profound because you can overcome the brain where the brain's got patterns that are not functional, that can be overcome. And so you might still have it, but you don't act like you have it because your brain's found a way around. And
Since
fascial
we don't see the muscles moving the body, we see muscles as stabilizing the movement of the body. Fascia moves the body through an impulse. And I do this all the time for scientists. I'm like, here's the math. You tell me how the brain moves the body when the brain's moving to a danger response before the body's moving a danger response before the brain knows. So that being said, things like Parkinson's is if fascia is moving the body and the muscle stabilizing, the muscle is shaking, but the fascia is trying to get a signal through. That's the way I see it. And this is why when I work with people with Parkinson's and MS, they walk normal after doing work
Yeah.
with them, assisted fascial maneuvers, and they stop having tremors and shaking. What I've noticed is that if we can't hydrate the fascia, then those things don't stop. It doesn't matter how good the work is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That surprises me, but not entirely. But
Well, imagine this is the muscle, okay? If I constrict it right here, or fascia, if I constrict the fascia right here, and then I lift, I'm restricted. Now I have to use more energy to get there.
right.
It's like stabilizing a muscle. So if I take this away, then I don't use that energy. I'm not pulling, the muscle's not trying to stabilize me. This is how we see the body. This is how we explain it. This is how we work with professional athletes. Consequently, every one of our Olympic athletes has a medal. Yeah, and there's a reason for that.
What?
Every one of our Olympic athletes has a medal, and there's a
Wow.
reason for that. And so when we look at it this way, this is where, I mean, we are going to push our science, sometime towards the end of next year. But what's funny enough is that we have so much results now that it's not a matter of whether it works. It's science now gets the opportunity to explain why it works.
Correct. Correct. And I completely agree. And I think that it's so important that so often the fact that it does work is well ahead of the science. And actually, we were like that. We'd already done the testing to show that our device did work, and we knew mostly why it worked. But Gerald Pollack, who's here in Seattle, was that last little piece of the water science of why it works. And it's very common that that part of the science is catching up.
So now this is not, I mean, we've got two different versions of this. This is the commercial version. It's about 14,000 and change dollars in US dollars, but there's also a smaller version, right? That can be.
Yes, there's an $8,500 device, and the difference is that this one's twice as powerful. It's interesting that a lot of home users will buy the more powerful one because they get twice the benefit in the same amount of time.
And I want to emphasize to people the reason why the device, every component in this is specially made. That's why it's not something that you can go buy components off the shelf and just manufacture somewhere else and get it cheaper. So, and what I see this is, I know a lot of people have the ability to individually buy this, but we have a lot of medical professionals and doctors and doctors' offices. And I believe personally that every doctor's office should have this, because, or every treatment office should have this, because if I'm doing body work on you and if I'm doing body work and I do a treatment on you, then by default, that treatment goes faster. So instead of spending 90 minutes doing a treatment, I'm only spending, I'm only spending 60 minutes to process the same type of treatment.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what
And
I'm finding in Human Garage down in LA when I first met you.
yeah, that was the first thing I noticed, is it took a treatment cycle down and reduced the amount of time. And since time is money in treatment, that makes the return on investment really high. And I want clinics and practitioners and groups of people, whether they're associations, even like soccer associations, for moms who they spend all this time and energy with their children, protecting them from injuries in soccer. This is one of the ways you can do it.
Yeah,
The parents groups and the associations could get together, purchase a machine, and have it there, because you just sit on this for 20 minutes, and it helps the recovery, it helps the performance.
right. And the other area I'd love to see this, because I'm with you, it's out of reach for, the average person. This is a lot of money. Um, but if it were in the workplace where people are now going back into the office, and so if there's one there, a whole bunch of people can share a device there, or in even a gym, a fitness center, that device actually, there's a little slot in the front of it you might be able to see, but you can use a smart card in it. So a gym could put it in, and then people only use it if they have permission, basically, with the card.
Oh, that's what the card's for.
Yep.
Oh, that is so cool, because I
Yeah.
got the smart card I carry around. I just didn't know what it was for.
And see, there's people that go to the gym 3 times a week or more often, so they just go there and use it.
Yeah, the recovery time, I like when you're exerting yourself, like when I go climb the falls and I have a really, really heavy climbing session, I come back here and get on this right away, because then I have no muscle fatigue or DOMS the next
Right.
day.
That and DOMS is interesting. That's a very, very much a protein folding thing that I won't get into. But basically, when you exert yourself, your body goes into high production of proteins. If they don't get folded, it's a health issue. It can cause real problems, like I mentioned with the plaques and so on. And so your body goes into what's called an unfolded protein response, and it goes into overdrive resources to get these proteins folded so they're not a problem. And that's why you feel so tired later, because you've hijacked all your energy into this folding response to keep you healthy. And so with DOMS, you end up feeling like, oh man, I'm just dragging, for days sometimes
So
because
it's interesting because, all muscles, bones, tissues, organs are made in fascia. We're born in fascia. We're grown in a ball of fascia. So fascia goes through the muscle, around the muscle. It means it's actually not a coating. So we don't even call it DOMS. We call it DOFS, delayed onset fascial soreness, because muscles don't get sore. Muscles contract. This is a whole new world that we're, and this is why fascial maneuvers is working. It's a new way of addressing the body. And what this is doing is on a high end helping me hydrate my fascia so that I have more functional movement, less restriction. I get more oxygen into the tissue. The protein folding issues are gone away, so my body recovers faster, and it affects every disease and function in my body. This is why I use it every day.
I love it. I love it that you appreciate this device so deeply, Gary, because you're not a big device guy overall.
I don't believe in devices anymore. I've used every device known to mankind, and they all work until they don't work. And devices take away the body's natural ability to create an action. But this is like water. It's somebody challenged me. They wanted me when my face swelled up, and I used this device with the biooptimizers and the power curve. And somebody was saying, you got to use this tachyon machine, this laser machine. And I said, no, I don't use device. And they said, well, you use this. And I said, I said, you're crossing a boundary there. I said, I drink purified and hydrogenated water because the water is polluted. I also take this because the air I breathe around me is polluted right now. And it doesn't matter where I live. I'm in polluted air. If I lived by a waterfall every day, I wouldn't have this issue. But we don't live in that environment this day. This is actually taking that pollution out of my water and giving me better water to put into my body. That's the only thing it does. And by doing that, it's not taking away a function from the body. It's just giving the body a hand.
Yes, it's just a boost. And it might not be that big a boost, really. It's enough for the body to take over and do good things. So, yeah,
Rowena, I appreciate you so much. This is like cutting edge science. The world will figure this out. And it is figuring this out. I mean, you guys are all over the place right now, but the world will really figure this out soon. If we just give our body the right water, we're made of water. If we just correct the water that interacts with us, then our body heals itself.
the body can, it's unlimited what the body can repair and regenerate. So anybody out there who could help us get this more widely spread and accessible to people that don't have, a chunk of money to drop down, and so it can be shared, put out there in community. I love the idea of community health. Any ideas, any thoughts, let me know, because
Yeah,
that's,
I'm sure they can reach out to you at Ing3.
yeah, eng3.com, or I'm rowena.gates at eng3.com.
Okay, and I want, there's a lot of people watching. This is my promotion. This is what I'm telling people to do, because we have clusters of people all over the world right now that are doing fascial maneuvers in groups and creating their own community centers. And it's even sometimes at a person's place. And you get 20 people to kick in and buy a machine. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but the impactful benefit of this is immeasurable. And I'm encouraging people who are in groups who are doing fascial maneuvers. I encourage you to get together, purchase a machine, lease a machine, do whatever. You guys can provide leasing, or you have leasing companies you work with?
Yeah, it's a financing company actually, so the person owns it at the end.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's much better. We don't want to have to
Yeah.
negotiate the value at the end of 3 years or something. But yeah, and this the big device is about $450 a month, in that range. If it's financed for 3 years, then they own it outright.
Yeah, I think it's a worthwhile investment for anybody who's in a group. And what you're seeing right now is we have fascial maneuver groups starting around the world. So I'm literally telling them to go get a machine. So you're going to see a lot of people pick up machines here for that purpose. And we have these in our centers. We're gonna get another one so we can put it down in Cancun. And I travel with it, which has been funny. I mean, I look like a terrorist walking through with a bomb sometimes, and they look at it, and I just go, can't breathe. I can't speak the language. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
put this on.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, it has a case that protects it. You can put it in the hold of an airplane or carry on.
Yeah, I don't put it in the hold of an airplane. Is this too expensive? Yeah. And I don't want to. I don't want to not have it. It's the one piece of luggage I wouldn't want lost.
Correct. That, yeah, I agree there. So yeah, that's great. Well, it's so good to see you. I want to come and see you live. I'll figure that out if you're around for a few weeks.
You're around for a couple of weeks. Let me know. We'll talk.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Okay, so
Bye, Rowena.
And
everybody,
Rowena, your links are on our website too.
Yes,
oh,
you can get
wonderful.
through. Okay. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye
Great to see
bye.